just a sec, going live on my phone, but my phone is acting up. Okay, sorry, just give me a minute to see what the issue is here. Sorry, let me just allow audio in. Sorry, 1 second, please. Yeah, it's so it can be cumbersome when you are. Looks like we would have to go with the quality on. We'll have to go with the quality on the system because Facebook. My phone is acting up. Sorry about that. Very bad. Chima, I am the founder of the Parenting Through Mentorship, and see if we can sort this out. It's a lot easier when you are in control.
All right, I think I got
I
that.
think I got that.
Okay.
Okay.
One of
So
us will have to go off. Just give me a second with that. Welcome. My name is Mary Bachima. You can tell me where you are joining me from. I am streaming from the capital city of Nigeria. From Abuja. Okay. Now we have a little challenge. Sorry, just a second. Okay. Now, this is not looking good. Okay, sorry, we'll have to leave the phone alone. It's not working.
Okay, sorry, we'll have to leave the phone alone. Sorry about this. We will have to do without. We will have to do with the quality. I mean, and the quality isn't good. I'm looking at it, and the quality isn't good at all. Okay, just give me a minute. Let me see if I can sort this out. I promise. Sorry about this. Sorry about this. Let's just get a better quality for this than the kind of quality we've been having in the last couple of days. Please, if you're with me, please just let me know in the background. Don't stay in the background. Let me know in the comments that you are with me and where you are joining me from. All right, hit me. Let me know where you're joining me from. Why I try to. Okay, it's not just working. I'm sorry, it's not working at all. Do we do this? It's not just working at all. Just a minute, please. Please. This quality is.
Okay, I think the quality. Okay, I think the phone quality. One second. Okay. I think the phone quality is better, and we have to go with that. How do I take this? I'm so sorry that this is happening today. I'm so sorry about this. There's a sound in the background that I need to take away. Okay. All right, so sorry, we would have to manage, we'll have to work with what we have right here. Please, if you can hear me, you can see me. Let me know that you are with me, you can hear me, and you can see me. Good afternoon and welcome to today's live broadcast. I'm sorry for all the glitches we had at the beginning of the session. I think the quality is better here. All right, so I don't know what the problem is, but the quality from the laptop has been poor, and I thought, okay, we would just be better off, having this with the other device. And I think it's actually better. So sorry for all that confusion at the beginning. My name is Maribeth Shima. I am the founder of the Parenting Through Mentorship Academy community on Facebook. You can also find us on Instagram and on YouTube. All right, so today we are here. As usual, it's our Thursday live broadcast. We call it the PTM Hangout. And in today's Hangout, we want to look at how we can move our children from motivation to motivation. We want to move our children from not being motivated to being motivated. All right. So a lot of us are parents of young children, parents of preteens and teenagers. And I am very sure you understand. Please, if you're with me, you can see me, you can hear me. Let me know that you are with me and that you can see and hear me, please. I just had a bit of network glitch at the beginning, so I'm not very sure how well we are doing when it comes to you seeing us, okay, seeing me right now. All right, so I would like to know if you can see me, if you can hear me, and you can see me and hear me clearly. Please let me know that you are, so that I know that I am not just speaking to myself. Are you with me? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Please don't just be in the background. Let me know that you can hear me. Let me know that you can see me. Let me know that you are following. All right, so awesome. Today, as I said, we are talking about what we can do as parents to move our children from the place of no motivation to the place of motivation. All right. So as I said earlier, as a parent, most of us, right, are raising, most of us here right now in this community are parents who are raising young children, preteens, and then probably teenagers or young adults. And you will agree with me that your children have some things that they are motivated, right, about, some things that they are self-determined, right? They have the determination to do those things, to achieve those things on their own without you or anyone else forcing them or making them, commit to those endeavors. So we have this kind of things, and there are other things that our children will not do on their own willingly, right? They will not do on their own willingly, or they do not give the required amount of effort, to. It so happens, I don't know about you, okay? It so happens that a lot of the times, it is the things that we do not think as parents, the things that we do not think are relevant, or the things that we do not tag as important. It so happens that those are the things that our children, do without anyone having to motivate them. So I was having a session with the kids in one of the courses that we're running presently, from child setback to child success course. Good afternoon, Vera. All right, so in one of the courses that we are running right now, from child setback to child success, and I was having a session with the children, that are joining their parents in that program, the retreat. And I asked them, what are the things that they love to do? The things that they do that no one has to force them to do, no one has to encourage them to do, no one has to drag them about, and no one has to, reward or punish them for. And the kids came up with things like video games and football, swimming, hanging out. So we know these things, right? The kind of things that our children enjoy doing. So yes, our children do these things because they love to do these things. They enjoy doing these things, and they are pleasured from doing these things. So you see, what happens is the child does not need any external motivation for them to achieve these things, because these things come from inside. The motivation to do these things come from inside, so they do not need any extra motivation to do these things. And that is because the part of the brain, that the part of the brain, the pleasurable part of the brain, right, is that with these actions actually pleasure the children, right? These actions pleasure them. And so the pleasurable center of their brain is activated every time they do this activity. So what happens? They want to do this activity over and over again, because when they do this activity, they get the happy feeling. They are, that part of their brain that makes them feel pleasure is activated. So no wonder you do not have to ask your children to go and watch TV. No wonder you do not have to force them to play video games. For those of them who love video games, no wonder you don't have to force them to go and play football. For those of them who play football, this is because it is coming from inside. Okay, it is internally or intrinsic. That motivation is intrinsic. It is coming from within, and so the child does not need an external motivation for the child to achieve that thing. Now, what you want to ask yourself as a parent is, how do I get them to begin to do some of the activities that I know are worthwhile, the activities that will, affect their lives positively today or in the near future, or when they become adults? Because yes, as children, it is just fine. It's not just children, right? It's not just children. Even for us as adults, there are certain things that you do that you derive pleasure from, and this thing right. So these things do not necessarily, have to be productive. These are things that are probably not productive. These are things that are probably not adding value to your life, but these things are pleasurable. They activate the pleasure center of your brain. And so you want to do it. Your brain prompts you to do these things over and over again because it brings you a pleasurable feeling when you do that thing. So our children are just mini us. They are still human beings. So it is the same way you do some of these activities and you derive pleasure from them and you want to do them over and over again. It's the same way these children derive pleasure from these things that come from within, that is intrinsically, motivated, right? And so they want to keep doing those things. Now, these other things that are not from within, these other things that are not intrinsically motivated, these are the things that do not come, from a place of enjoyment or interest or pleasure for the children. You realize they don't go ahead and do those things easily. Okay, they don't do it on their own, and so they will need some form of external motivation for them to do these things. But in truth, the best kind of motivation is the one that comes from within. The intrinsic motivation is the best kind of motivation, because when your child can get motivated about an activity, whatever that activity is, when the child gets naturally motivated or intrinsically motivated, it means that the child would do that thing to the best of their ability, or the child would do that thing happily because the child derives some pleasure from doing that thing. Now, as I said, there are things that, our children ought to be doing. They ought to be learning skills. They ought to be doing Okay, so we want them to do well in school. We want them to learn certain skills. We want them to apply themselves positively in certain areas. We want There's certain things that we want to introduce in their lives because we know that these things are right for them. These things are going to help them in the future. These things are going to help them navigate their world. Navigate life on their own. These things are going to empower them for the future. These things are going to make them successful. Yet the child is not motivated to do these things, naturally. It doesn't come from inside. And so we have to motivate them somewhat from the outside, externally. Now, is it to say that external motivation is wrong or it is not good? Okay, so external motivation on its own is not wrong because, hey, there is no human being that is motivated about everything, right? There's no human being that is excited about everything at the same time. There are certain things that you are just excited about. There are certain things that you love and you enjoy doing because you love them and you enjoy doing them. For instance, hanging out with your girls, hanging out with your boys, right? Hanging out with your boys, hanging out with your girls, having, go on, hand. Okay, so sorry about that. Okay, so for instance, hanging out with your friends, indulging in some of those things that are not right for your health. Okay, for some people, even the things that are not right for our morals, indulging in those things. So we find ourselves indulging in those things, not because they're right? And then there are the things that are supposed to be right that we should do more of, that we should apply ourselves more into, and we're not doing those things. So the same thing for the kids. Now, are we saying, as I was saying, there is nothing wrong with external motivation, right? Even though we know that the right kind of motivation or the best kind of motivation is the one that comes from within. Okay, so but external motivation is not wrong on its own, provided we understand external motivation and how we can use it effectively. Okay, that's what is very important. Understanding external motivation and how you can use external motivation effectively. That is what is very, very key, especially when you are dealing with children. It's important that you help them understand the reason behind, everything that you want them to do. All right, so first thing first, if you are that parent and you are at that phase, your child is at that phase where they are not motivated. Your child is at that phase where the things that are important, your children are not interested in things that are important. You want your children to read books. Your children are not interested in reading books. Your children are not motivated. They are not personally, they are not internally motivated to pick books and read and get knowledge. Okay? Some children do not even like school. They do not want to read. They do not want to make time and study. Okay, even though it is important that they study if they're going to have to pass their exams, isn't it? So some children are still not willing to do that because it's not one of those things that they enjoy doing. Some children do not love chores. They don't want to do chores at home because they don't enjoy doing it. Some children do not even want to worship with you. They don't want to go to church. They don't want to go to the mosque. They don't want to do any of those things that do not depict fun. Okay, any of those things that is not exciting, is not fun, by the standard of the 21st century child. So your child is not motivated to do those things. All right, so it could be this, could be that. It could be a lot. It's a whole range. It's a lot of things that our children may not be motivated or do not. They can't motivate themselves to do. It is not. There's no determination on their part to do these things. Okay, and we already said at that point, when you notice that your child is not motivated to do a particular thing, for instance, studying or reading a book, okay, studying, reading a book, becoming productive, right, engaging in positive activities, learning skills and all of that, they are not interested. Now, what do we do to help them get interested? first thing first, I'm going to giving you a number of things that you would do. I'll give you about five or six of them that you can do to help your child move from a motivation or lack of motivation to motivation. So the first thing you want to do if you have a child that's not motivated, okay, especially when it has to do with something that is important like education, reading, learning skills, taking care of themselves, taking care of their environment, learning leadership skills, right, building their executive functioning skills, all of those things that are empowering. All right, first thing you want to do is you want to identify what stage of development your child is at. Children are at different phases, okay? The child or the person you're dealing with. How old is this person? How old is the person? How developed is this person? How matured is this person? Where is this person, in the developmental, phase of their life? Where is this person? Okay, so we understand that our children, most of us are dealing with children from age 0 to 18, right? When we're talking here, especially all right, so we're talking about the period of active parenting. That's a period between when your child is 0 and 18, isn't it? So that's the period that we're focused on when we're talking, period of active parenting. What's going on? The network is glitching. All right, so we're talking of your period of active parenting, 0 to 18. All right, now if you understand as a parent, if you bother to think about, what should be happening to your child at this phase of their life, that you should bother about that. Okay, you should bother about that. You should research that. You should answer questions, okay, about this before so that you can understand why your child is probably doing what the child is doing, okay, or why your child is, acting the way the child is acting. All right, that will also help you know how to come in and motivate the child. When you understand why the child is interested or not interested in something, when you understand, that this thing is probably too, it's too high for this child to understand at this level, it makes you know what you should be introducing to the child and makes you understand you should let, slide and what you should push, basically. The phase going through training also. All right, I have been going through the training, from child setback to the retreat, from child setback to child success, and we've had psychologists, we've had educators, we've had people come in us, to talk to us in that retreat and all of that. And it's been a lot of learning, deep insights, and understanding in the last couple of days. Okay, so we have come to understand that children actually are in different phases, or we are all in different phases of our lives, basically. And when the children are between 5 and 12 years old, they're at a phase of their life that is referred to as the phase of industry versus inferiority. So at this stage, your children are learning skills, they're learning skills and learning and becoming perfect in those skills. They're learning skills, they're internalizing those skills and all of that. Now, if you are introducing skills to your children at this phase and your children are not interested, it means that there is a chance that you can help them move from a place of, not motivated to a place of motivation. So, but if you're introducing skills to your children who are younger, okay, probably your 2-year-old or your 3-year-old, and the child is, not conforming or it is dragging, it's taking time. Now, understanding the fact that, okay, at this stage of the child's life, it is probably, half and half, you may not be able to achieve a lot of things, will make you understand why, it is dragging, or that the child is not, the child is not complying. So that way you get less frustrated because you understand that this skill is probably too early for the child, you know, and all of that. But for your child who is about 5 to 12, you know that, okay, the child has like this whole range of time. Okay, so if the child is not getting it right now, when the child is about 5, the thing is you need to stay in there. And so that is where consistency comes in. So, dear parents, there are certain things that our children will not be motivated about, you know, in the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, 2 months. All right, I'm so sorry about this. All right, can you see me now? I'm sorry. Okay, so sorry about this. Okay, so sorry about this. The network is being a bit of a challenge this afternoon. Sorry about this. All right, so as I was saying, right, when your child is, you know, there are things, skills that you introduce to your child probably when you're so there are skills that we will not be frustrated. Thank you. All right. So there are skills that you would probably, you know, introduce, or you could introduce, you know, to your child at say 5, 6, 7 years old, and they may not kick in and begin to, I mean, get into the mix and start doing that thing actively. This is where commitment and consistency comes in. And it so happens that commitment and consistency are two of the most difficult things for many of us as parents. You may have all the intention that you have. As we have seen, we have a lot of parents who have good intentions. As a matter of fact, we all have good intentions, okay? We all, Malio, Joe. Oh, Miss Ogbe, good afternoon, ma'am. Thank you for joining us. All right, so as parents, we all have good intentions, but it is how committed you are to the plans or the goals that would help you achieve those intentions that is the real deal. And then after really horrible. All right, if you can see me, you can hear me, please just let me know in the comments. The network is becoming really horrible. Okay, so it is how well you can hang in there. Please let me know if you can still see and hear me on Facebook or Instagram. Okay, all right, I can see a comment from Facebook, so I think this person can hear me. All right, thank you very much. So it is how well, right, how committed and how ready you are. Okay, thank you very much. So it's how committed you are and how ready, consistent in what you, in that skill or whatever it is that you have introduced, right? So you stay in there, you are committed to it, and you are consistent. Remember that this particular skill or this particular thing we're talking about is something that your child probably does not enjoy, is something that your child does not find pleasure from. So the pleasure center of the brain is not activated or stimulated by this activity. There is no sense of satisfaction in this activity. And if you go by the formula that I love very much, when you're working with children, activity plus a sense of satisfaction is equal to motivation. So if there is no sense of satisfaction to that activity, ordinarily, the child would not be motivated to engage in that activity. So the thing is, there won't be a motivation that is intrinsic. It won't come from within. So don't be too angry that the child will not remember to go out of their way to do this activity. And this activity could be as serious as having them clean their room, having them do their dishes after eating food, having them help you clear your room or wash their toilet. Okay, it could be as important as having them wash their underwear. But hey, this activity is not pleasurable. Thank you for putting that down. This activity is not pleasurable to the child and does not activate any part of their brain. I mean, it does not, trigger that part of their brain that makes them feel good. So no, the child will not ordinarily go and do this. So it becomes your responsibility, or it becomes your responsibility as a parent to support them and to look for the best way to make this activity become pleasurable, to make this activity become something that the child is willing to do because the child understands why they have to do it, or because the child begins to enjoy it. Okay, so we say that external motivation is actually in a spectrum. Okay, it's actually in a spectrum from no motivation to self-determination. All right, so if you stay in there as a parent and you're supporting the child, you have a huge chance of moving the child from a motivation or no motivation, okay, on that spectrum to determination in doing that thing. But it takes time and it takes commitment and consistency for you to move a child that is not motivated about something and then take them to the place where they are determined or self-determined to achieve that thing. And I have just said to you, the first thing you need to do is to find out if the child is at the phase or the stage in their life where they have the capacity or the ability, rather, when they have the ability to achieve that thing. So yes, you are introducing cleaning their room and making their bed to your 4-year-old. You may struggle because the child is not in that phase of their life where this activity, it's easy for you to begin to move them on the spectrum where this activity is concerned. So what do you want to do at this stage for your 4-year-old? You want to just have them hang around you and watch you do that activity from a place of joy and pleasure. We miss this. You are doing things and you are complaining about it. You enter the kitchen and you are upset. You are cooking and you're just upset all the time, nagging and shouting and screaming at the person who is working with you, probably a domestic staff who is there with you. You're doing that. So first of all, firsthand, you are modeling to this child that there is no pleasure in this particular activity. It's just a very burdensome, it's a frustrating kind of activity. So first of all, your modeling is is wrong in the first place. Okay, and it's the same thing with many other things. You would not pick a book and read as a parent. They see you even join communities where you are supposed to read book, and they see you hold one book from January to September. You are still holding one book. They see you put a book by your, by your side stool or by your bedside, and they see that book there from January till the bookmark doesn't move from chapter 1 to chapter 8. It's sitting down there, and then you want them, right? You want them to generally just pick that and begin to enjoy it. No, they won't do that. So that's why we say, as parents, first of all, What are the things? What's the end that you see? What are the behavior? Okay, what are the habits? What are the behavior? What are the attributes you would like to see in your children? The first thing you want to do right from when they are very little, from the cradle, is what? You want to normalize these things. Okay, you want to normalize these things such that you have modeled these things so well that your child has seen these things consistently, and these things become normal before your child. So you will be amazed that your child will actually, these activities that you have modeled over and over again will become some of the activities that will come natural to your child. This same activity will become activities that your children will gain intrinsic desire to do. Yesterday in the program, one of the kids said he doesn't like to. So we had asked one of the kids, and she said she doesn't like to do chores. Okay. And then we asked another child after her, and that one said he doesn't like to read books. And the first person that said she doesn't like to to do chores was amazed. And then she whispered to her mom, how can anyone not love to read books? So you see this now. So this is the person that doesn't love to do chores, but she is wondering how on earth another person would not love to read books. Now, if you go and you check, you will realize that this child probably has parents, or their parents are probably people who are into books. And so she grew up from day one, seeing books, knowing books, understanding that books are a thing. And of course, it has become her normal. All right, so it's become that thing that she derives pleasure from. It begins from you even reading aloud to your children. So you start reading aloud to your 6 weeks old child, your 2 weeks old child, your 4 weeks old child. Now your child attributes bonding and love and happiness to books, because hey, mommy comes back from work, you do all the things you have to do, freshen up, you rest, and the next thing you have baby, you go, you get the baby, and you're like laughing around, you do something, let's read a book, okay? And then you put your baby between your legs, or you're between your on your lap, and then you read a book, using all the different tones while you're reading, and then making fun out of this book. This becomes one of the activity that is pleasurable to this child. So right from when the child is 2 weeks and 2 months and 4 months and 1 year and 3 years, reading or book is reading books or listening to stories and reading books is something that is pleasurable. It's something that, the pleasure center, that activates the pleasure center of the child's brain. So yes, book will be seen, okay, or book will be perceived as something that is pleasurable to this child. So for some people, reading a book they derive as much pleasure from reading a book as the person who takes crack cocaine or any other, intoxicating substance. The same pleasure they get from taking that intoxicating substance is the same pleasure this person gets from reading a book. It is a matter of what are you motivated, or what motivates you, or what activity, do you get motivated on your own doing? Do you enjoy doing, basically? So you see the part or the role that we play as parents, even in the things that become, pleasurable, or the things that become, the things that motivate our children, basically. So it's very key that we understand this. Okay, so now we're talking about, okay, you can now see that your child does not derive pleasure from this activity. You can now see that, it's not one of the things that your child enjoys doing. What do you do? Okay, we started on that already, and we say, so understand what level or what phase your child is at. That will help you understand what you should push or what you should what you should, push, or what you should, continue to go with them with gradually, or what you should just keep in the corner for a bit, and return to, later. But while you are, keeping that in the corner and not, the whole idea is never to pressure the children, okay? Pressure doesn't really work, okay? So the whole idea is not to pressure them into any of these things. The whole idea is, when is the right time to introduce the particular thing, and then is it the right time to, stay in here and continue to push this? Or is it the right time for me to just model this thing right before this child, and then just make sure that the child is planted in the right place, seeing the right things, the right modeling done around the kind of things you want them, right? Kind of things you want to see in their life, or the kind of thing you want them to enjoy, or the kind of things you want them to gain, intrinsic motivation towards. Okay, if you know what I'm saying. Good morning. Oh, Madam Prosperous, good to see you. Good morning, ma'am, and all that. So that is it. So while you were there, so now the child is at that phase of their life where the child can understand this. The child is at the identity, right? No, the child is at the industry versus inferiority phase, where the child is learning skills and all of that, and that the child can learn whatever you're teaching them right now. So go ahead and introduce the skill. Okay, go ahead and introduce the skill. Or when you identify that, okay, they do not like this particular skill. My child does not like to read. My child doesn't love to study. My child doesn't like school. My child doesn't like, the things that is important. My child doesn't like to go to church. My child doesn't like to be in a particular kind of gathering, and that this is what is right for your child. Now, what do? Introduce this to your child, right? Begin to model the benefits of this thing to your child. All right. So I say to parents a lot of the times, we want our children to love God. We want our children to, want them to love God. We want them to love fellowship. We want them to serve, and be of service in the community of the brethren. How much service are you, okay, in the community of brethren? How committed are you? Okay, and even while you are doing it, how well do you do it? And how much do you complain about it? So you see what happens to some of us. We join, departments in church, okay? We join departments in church. We join, we begin something in church, and half the time we are complaining. They call you before you pick the phone. These people, I'm just tired, and all of that. So this is you consistently complaining about the places that you voluntarily went to serve, complaining about the people in church, complaining about everything. And then your child turns 12 or 13 and you are there. You must do something in church. You must do something in church. No, you have not modeled that there is a reward for doing something in church. You have not modeled that there is a reward of fellowship in the brethren, fellowshipping with the brethren. If all you do when you come back is talk to Sister Agnes, did you see what Ngozi did today? What is all that? And so you have not modeled that this thing, okay? You want your children to live, Abio. So you've not modeled that this thing has got, this thing has got benefits that are just heavenly. You've not modeled this. Okay, it's the same thing with worshiping God. We worship God, we stay up, we pray here, we pray there, we do this, we do that. But we are the ones that complain the most about everything. Hey, I'm tired of this country. Nothing is working. Nothing is working. Hey, I just want. So you are constantly, they see you in the morning, you are with them, Father in heaven, my God, my faith, I am the top, I'm not the least. Do you understand? You go when there is a casting down, when everybody shouts, there's a casting down, there is a lifting up. For me and my family, you finish declaring all of these things in faith. Then the moment you finish, you get into the kitchen and the Maggi is finished. You people don't know this country is hard. Everything is hard. Oh, I'm tired. What are you saying? What are you saying? So at the end of the day, yes, that's what they see us as. They see us as hypocrites. So no, you have not served your God, or you have not presented your God as the God of, you've not presented your God as a God that needs to be loved and worshipped. So yes, no wonder your child is struggling with whether to know God based on who God is, or to know God based on what you and other people are telling them. So we find out that these children will grow up knowing God only as you said, never feeling God and developing that relationship with God, because hey, you have painted God in a way that is confusing. Okay, so basically we need to, what am I saying? You need to model. All right, before you can move a child from a lack of motivation in doing something to motivation, you must be able to model, the benefits, or how, how fulfilling it is to do that thing to your child. Okay, number two, you want to actively share experiences. You want to actively share experiences, examples, read books, watch documentaries, watch movies, right? That portrays the benefits of what it is you want to see your child. Why it is that thing is important to your child. So, for instance, your child does not love to go to school. So you want to model to your child the benefits of going to school. You want to, share with your child, experiences. You want him to see people who have, become, or people who have achieved certain things simply because they took this particular activity, or they took this particular venture seriously. Okay, and you don't want to do it from a place of force and all of that. Don't do it like, okay, you say you will not do it, come and see, if Mark Zuckerberg did not go to school, do you think you'll be able to achieve? No, you don't want to do that. You want to do these things as your everyday life. You want to cook and have conversation. Oh my God, do you know I was reading something about Elon Musk the other day? Do you know he actually studied this and he did this and he was doing really good when he was in elementary school? Oh, did you know that at the age of 12 he actually launched his first, you want to teach your children from a place of fact, a place of reality, and all of that. What do you want? What is it that they are motivated or not motivated about? You want to look for an opposite, or something, or someone, right, that has benefited from that thing, right, and then try to portray these, or try to make the child see the picture of these and all of that. It's very, very key if you're going to be able to move them on that spectrum from not motivation towards self-determination. All right. And as I say, the moment the child begins to do that thing, or the moment that thing is introduced, what do you want to do? You want to become consistent with that thing. Okay, and that's what we do in the mastermind program that we run for preteens. Okay, the idea behind the mastermind program is because we know that children are at that phase. Okay, they're at this phase, right, that we're talking about right now, the industry versus inferiority phase. Now, in that phase, children you're introducing skills to them. They should be learning skills and all of that, but these skills are not the most pleasurable things. So what do? You want to introduce the skills in ways that will seem like fun to the child. You want to introduce the skills in ways, right, that will help the child see it as a responsibility. You want to introduce the skills in a way that, after introducing the skills, you want to help the child practice consistently, and you want to do it in a system where there is accountability, not force, right? You're not forcing the child. You are not shaming the child for not doing it. You just want a system of accountability where the child begins to see themselves as autonomous, right? When they begin to see themselves as autonomous, and they begin to see these things as responsibilities, so that they can approach it from a place of responsibility, isn't it? And then a good way to do this is to put them in the gathering of, their contemporaries. So let them be in a place where they can see other children doing this, so that they know, oh, okay, this person does the same thing. Oh, sometimes he doesn't do it just like me. Oh, sometimes he does it. Oh, when they don't do it, you're like, you know something? Hey, sweetie, amazing. Well done with the 2 items or 2 things you're able to do today. I was hoping by tomorrow you'll be able to push yourself a little. So what they need at this stage is a lot of encouragement. Okay, so number 1, identify the phase where they are at and be sure that they are ready for this. Okay, number 2, even when they're not ready for this, what do you want to do? You want to make sure that you are modeling correctly. So model the right thing to them, model this behavior, or model this, how this activity should be done, okay, and measure the model the reward, okay, model this to the child, so that the child sees that it is something that can be pleasurable. Okay, you want to do that, so that the child can see something that is pleasurable and all that. Then number 3, you want to make sure that you make the child see why this is important by sharing with them experiences, introducing them to people who can inspire them, people who have done these things. Okay, for instance, your child doesn't like to read, you want to allow them watch a video of Warren Buffett, one of those interviews, how Warren is saying, okay, one of the most important things that he had to do to become so successful is that he loves to read books. You want him to see Obama talk about books. You want to tell him the stories about all these people, all these great people that attribute part of their success to their ability, okay, to read books. You want the child to understand that great leaders are people who are knowledgeable, and knowledge comes from what you know, and knowing or knowledge is something that you get when you can read and you can be vast in your knowledge. So you want to look for ways to do that. Now, for your little children, you want to play them a video probably on YouTube that is fun, but still passes this knowledge. It passes this lesson. Basically, you want to introduce them to stimulating activities, right, that they do, and they can see the product of their action. They can see how tangible making an effort can be. So when you introduce your children to doing things, and then you do activities together, at the end of the day, you don't know the kind of confidence and self-esteem, confidence and pleasure that comes from when your child is able to accomplish a task or finishes a project, and he sees the product and he can say to himself, I made this. Okay, when your child can say to himself, I made this, the child can see, oh, this is that thing I've been doing for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, and this is the result. Okay, when your children do this, that part of their brain, right, the part of their brain where pleasure is activated, and your child begins to see that activity as a pleasurable activity. We just finished the summer. We just ended our summer fun activity for reading. Okay, so when you introduce reading in a fun way, and your child is able, let's say you say, oh, we're having a book night, and then you go out, hang out, you're eating snack, and you're reading a book together. At the end of the day, you finish reading that book. The next time you're doing another activity, and then you read a part of it, the child reads a part of it, and then you finish that book and you drop it. And then the next time you're doing body reading, okay, you're reading aloud as a family, you're sharing a book as a family. You finish reading that book together. At the end of the month, you pick it, and it's like 2, 3, 4 books. Okay, just like in the challenge, some of them said they were going to read 20, some 10, some 15, some 30 books. At the end of the challenge, the child can look at it and say, oh, I read those 10 books, I read those 12 books. And then there is a sense of satisfaction that comes from the fact that they know that they achieved this. And the pleasure center of the child's brain is activated. Pleasure. They feel pleasured by their ability to achieve that thing. So that activity becomes something that gradually is something that gradually is able to activate the pleasure center of the child's brain. And so the child begins to see that activity as a pleasurable activity. Remember, it is reading, and once upon a time, he didn't want to read. So that's a way that you can help move the child from not motivated about something to motivated about something. You need to look for a pleasurable way, an activity that will help the activity that the child doesn't love. You would help it happen, right? So that activity, at that point, the brain is, the pleasure center is activated, and the child begins to attribute pleasure to that thing. I don't know if I'm making sense. Okay, in the session with the children the other day, the children in the Setback to Success retreats, we asked, one of the kids was sharing with us how he started reading books. All right. And then he said he's 7 years old, right? He's 7 or going on 8, right? And then he said, right, that he never likes to read books, even though his mother reads books. His older sister reads books, but he never really enjoyed or liked reading books until he went for a school fair, his school fair or book fair in his school. So at the book fair, he saw a book about animals, and this child loves animals. He loves animals so much that he told his mother that he wanted to be a zoo tender, like he wants to work in a zoo, tending to the animals and all of that. So at the book fair, he saw a book that was all about animals, and so he picked that book, or he asked that he wanted that book, and they bought that book for him. And he came home and started reading that book. Why did he read that book? Because, he read that book because, or he picked that book because there's something that he loves. There's something that he's interested in that is in that book. And so as a result of him reading a book that could spark the pleasure center of his brain, so gradually his brain started recognizing books as something that, is pleasurable. It is common sense, like reading. All right. And so that is how he moved from one book to the next book to the next book. And then while he was talking about it, it made some sense to me also, because our son would not read any fiction book before he was 7. And I have read to him all his life. Like I read to him before he was born. And so I have read aloud to our son from when he was born, every day, except something came up that did not allow us to read a bedtime story or something like that. I read to him every day. But even at that, he didn't want to give him a Cinderella story or give him any of the story. He would beg him, "Mommy, please, can you read to me?" And I would do him the honors. I always read aloud to him. It was fine. If he was ready to read or not ready to read, I would just read to him. When he started reading, he was reading from encyclopedias. So he would read books. He wanted to know why sharks are the way sharks were. So he would read books about sharks. He would read books about, about fishes, basically fish. He will read books about fish. He will read books about animals. He will read books about cars and how car engines work. So the encyclopedia was his thing. So before my child was 7, my son was 7, he had at least 4 or 5 encyclopedia, different kinds of encyclopedia. So when he goes to book fairs, just like this other child, when he goes to book fairs, what he's picking to read is an encyclopedia. That's what he will ask you to buy. And they're always very expensive. But we did buy anyway. So we did buy them for him and all that. So those were the books that he was reading. Now that the child was saying it, and I realized the first book he actually read when he was 7 was a Geronimo Stilton book. I had read that book and I handed it to him and I said, "Go read. I mean, who knows, you might like it." And he carried it, dumped it, At some point he opened it again. Now I realized this Geronimo Stilton book had to do with a rat, right? It had to do with a mouse. Right. Yeah, it has to do with a mouse. The main character is a mouse and all of that. So now I never even thought about it, funny enough, until yesterday. That book was actually about a mouse. So it was very easy for him to relate to the mouse because he would love to read about animals. He would love to, know about animals. So he got intrigued, or he got interested, first of all, to even read the first page and then the second page, because he had something to do with a mouse. And so by the time he read it, he realized it was, just another story like any of the Cinderella or any of the Rumpelstiltskin or Goldilocks books and all of that. It was just another story. And that's how, we broke that genes of him not wanting to read fiction books. So yes, you want to identify the thing that the child loves and is interested in already, and then get that into the skill that you're trying to make the child interested. Sorry, that was network. So I remember one of the parents also talking about the same child, how his math skill was really under also. He wasn't interested in math, and then she had to give him a reason, to love math, because, he says he wants to be a zoo tender. And she says, you will need math. You will need to know the numbers of animals in the zoo. You will have to count them. You will have to work with numbers. You have to. So I'm sure she said more than that. Okay, you would have to know what kilograms or ton of food each one is. By the time you let children understand the reason behind what they have to do, this kind of parents could also research someone who is someone who's done well as a zoo tender, okay, or someone who's done well in that area, and that person also becomes a motivation to this child. This is how we move children from the point of no motivation to the point of motivation. All right, so let's move swiftly. Praising them. You need to learn to catch your children doing good. You need to catch them doing right. So yes, they are not motivated by a particular activity, but everybody has something, even if it's just one thing that they do that is in. So you must catch one thing that they do that is intrinsically motivated. You want to make sure that you praise that thing. Okay, praise the effort that they make towards that thing. Praise the fact that they stay consistent with doing that thing. Praise the fact that they stay on that task and they complete that task. It could be schoolwork. The child doesn't like math, doesn't like science, but the child likes art and he likes English and he likes other things. So you want to stay in there and catch those things that the child likes, and you want to praise those things, the effort that the child makes towards that thing. Okay, while you are still introducing these other things and trying to encourage them towards these other things. What you're doing is you're telling the child you are capable. You are capable. You're not just seeing this thing right now, you're not trying it, but see how well you do in art. It means that if you decide to pay a bit of attention to math also, you will do equally well, because you are an excellent person. Okay, God has made you excellent. So sweetie, let's try it. So basically you want to catch them doing the things that they do well. You want to catch them doing those things well, and you want to praise the effort that they make towards those things. Okay, please do that very much if you want to move them from a place of lack of motivation in other areas to a place of motivation. This is very, very key. Okay, okay, we talked about that already, introducing external motivations and all of that. Now apart from introducing them to people who can motivate them, introduce an accountability system. Okay, so when you introduce your children, when you introduce them to the skills that they don't really love, they don't really want to do, right? Before accountability, you want to support them. You have to support them because you know already that this is not the best. This is not one of the best things, for them. You know that this is not what they would want to do ordinarily on their own. So what do? You create a support system for them. That support could be you. That support could be a buddy. Okay, you could encourage friend. You could encourage them to find that friend in school, okay, or that teacher in school, that loves this thing or can help them with this thing. So it could be a friend, a pair, partner or buddy or something like that. So tell them, encourage them. Oh, who in your class likes? who in your class loves science or enjoys science? Okay, maybe you should study with them like for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes every day. Okay, so help them, encourage them to, get themselves paired up with people who can be, some sort of, partners with them. It could also be a teacher. Allow your child, encourage your child, or even go ahead and help them find that teacher in school that can be, a buddy, or can be their encourager or their support, someone that they can just, connect with, right? That they can take their challenges in school to, they can have this teacher, can have conversations with them from time to time. Remember, nothing what's going on here? Okay, sorry, the network. So let me round up quickly. All right, so find that person that can support them like that in the school environment. If it's something to do with school, academic, if it's something academic that the child is not motivated about, find someone who is their friend. It could be a teacher. All right, do your due diligence and be sure of the integrity of the person that you are, connecting your child with, right? So it could be a teacher, it could be a parent, his classmate, it could be someone, on a higher level, at a higher level than the child in school, and that person becomes some sort of a partner, a buddy, and someone that can support the child in that way. All right, and then introduce consequences. Okay, consequences are in order. Okay, at some point you need to introduce consequences, especially if these things are things that the children must do. For example, a chore. And when I say consequences, I don't mean that it must be something that will inflict pain and all of that. Agree on something. Agree on something as a family. Agree. Let it be a standard. If you do not do your chore in a day, it means that you will lose this. If you do not do this, it means that you will have to forfeit this. If you do not do that, it means that this would, so put something, and it has to be something that the child really loves and enjoys doing, so that the child knows that, okay, there are consequences, in life, and whatever consequence you are putting in place, make sure that the consequence is not overboard. Please, consequences are not meant to create pain. Consequences are meant to help the children have a choice. So you have a choice to get this thing that you need, or just do the right thing, okay, so that you can. So you have a choice to forfeit it or do the right thing so that you can get that thing. Okay. So basically let them know that these are choices, and make sure that the consequences are things that they will not choose over having to do the right thing. All right. So that's it. And then lastly, you need to provide your children with tools. Provide them with the tools that they need, right, to get motivated about these things. You cannot say to your child, you don't like studying, and then of course the atmosphere, the environment in your home does not even permit for the child to study. There are no books to study. There is no sane environment for studies. There is no structure in your home. You don't even have the child doesn't have a routine, that allows, that has indicated this is time for study and study. You don't have a routine, that promotes these activities and all of that. So if you want your children, or you want to help your children, you will have to create the right structure, give them the right tools, right, that they need to be able to achieve these things, enough for them to move from a lack of total motivation in this thing to the point where they become, motivated to do these things. All right. So if you're a parent and you're struggling with this, okay, with your preteen or your your children between age 7 and 13, you can bring them to us in the Mentor Parent Support Program. All right. So at least in the Mentor Parent Support Program, we can fill in as their buddies. We can fill in as their bodies. We can fill in as there is a peer mentorship and accountability group. So what we do is we provide accountability for the child. We provide that mentorship for the child. We provide that person that the child can talk to. So we provide all of this. And then we encourage the child to begin to take initiative on their own. So you need people who can walk this journey with you. I think the mastermind is a perfect place, where you can have your children come in and learn through consistency to move from a lack of motivation in any area at all in their life to the point of motivation. Okay, and if the training you need is for you as a parent, you don't even know how to create the structure we're talking about, you don't even know where to start, you don't know where to begin, you think that your child is slipping off your grip, you are at that point where everything is woozy, then the mentor parent support program may be what you need at this point in your life. Okay, so you can send us a chat. You can just put it there in the comments, mentor parent support, or if it's for the child, just put mastermind. Or our number is always available in online, in the community. Okay, our numbers are always available. You can reach out to us, our number rather. And if you're on YouTube, the number is 081-306-21566. I'll take that again. 081-306-21566. Just send us a message on WhatsApp and let us know that you would need support for you as a parent, or you would need your child 7 to 13 to get into the mastermind program where they can be supported amongst their peers. Thank you very much for everyone who joined us. Thank you for being here. We do not take it for granted. Thank you, Chidinma. Thank you, Maliojo. Thank you, Vera. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Facebook users. Some of you, I can't even see your names because StreamYard did not give us, or Facebook did not give us access to see your names. All right, thank you very much. Have a lovely, 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 lovely rest of the week. Thank you.